Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. We'll be talking about CPEC and the fact that, how far we see it going in terms of regional growth. Also, the Prime Minister said that as far as conspiracies surrounding CPEC is concerned, he doesn't seem to understand where they stem from. His focus, of course, is poverty alleviation and the people of the country. He also talked about the fact that, of course, as far as Pakistan is concerned, 20 to 30% of our people, our country is below the poverty line, and he sees CPEC as an initiative that can revolutionize, change things for the people of this country, for the plight of the poor. All of that today, how it aims to do that, what are some of the initiatives the government intends to take, furthering the visit of the Prime Minister. We'll be talking about all of that. We'll also be talking about the fact that as far as economy is concerned and China is concerned, the Prime Minister also mentioned how he looks at it as a role model for Pakistan, and how we purport to follow the same kind of policies to perhaps a better economy, better industrialization, what kind of moves we're looking at as far as special economic zones are concerned. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Brigadier Retired Shahid Jahangir, who's a defense analyst. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for calling me.
We also have with us Zoon Ahmed Khan, who is a journalist from Beijing. Thank you for joining us, Zoon. And we'll also be joined later by Shakil Rame Saab, who's an economist. Brigadier Saab, let's start off with you. As far as overall situation is concerned, earlier also I was talking to you about how this visit of the Prime Minister can now translate into actual gains in terms of economy, in terms of investment, in terms of industrialization, which is what the Prime Minister has aimed for. Which is what his team has aimed for. How do you see that?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Sorry, what he terms as geoeconomics.
Okay. CPEC as a part of Belt and Road Initiative is a flagship project of China, in which they see that they want to connect, which they call as the strings of the pearls, where the economy of the world will not be dependent on the bottlenecks of the Malacca dilemma, the Malacca Straits, as far as that thing is concerned, and also in the Pacific. Moreover, they want to connect the Asia with Europe. By land, by road, and by sea. Also, they want that the Gwadar port of the country of Pakistan, which is a natural deep sea port, because Dubai Jabil Post, which is the biggest and busiest, one of the busiest, is a man-made port. So, if you combine all this, it's a win-win situation for China and Pakistan if the CPEC goes as planned. Now, both the countries are making their utmost endeavor that the timeline set for its different phases and also the financial roadmap for this should be completed. Phase 1 of that, which was construction of the road and the construction of the Gwadar port, is almost over. We are entering into the second phase, in which the main line 1 of Pakistan, which is from Peshawar to Karachi, will be upgraded, and the speed of the train will be enhanced. Plus, the in phase 2, we will see presently 20,000 tons container can be parked on the Gwadar port. But at the end of the second phase, we will upgrade it to 200,000 tons. And which is going to start, and then the special economic zones will be developed. in which the
Okay,
IT
let's
parks
talk more
will be
about
developed.
that. Brigadier Sahab, I want to come back and talk more about the special economic zone and the significance of that for Pakistan, for economics overall. Let me go to zone and then I will come back to you. G, zone, the Prime Minister also talked about the joint working group on industrial cooperation. And there are a lot of hopes from that. How do you look at that as a whole? And how do you look at it? Look at it as an initiative of, of course, our Pakistan and China both, and what it will achieve in the near future.
So, Marukh, firstly, thank you for having me. And I'll take it up with especially the part that you mentioned, the special economic zones. So, just like Brigadier Saab mentioned, he talked about the phase one, which is the capacity building, really, for Pakistan to become an export-oriented economy, to attract industry, to attract investors. And really at the heart of that infrastructure, which means energy as well as transportation, and also the port of Gwadar, is how, and developing those special economic zones is how well we can utilize that infrastructure, how effectively we can attract foreign investment, what else are other countries offering that we can learn from, what are China's own experiences, how were they able to develop their own special economic zones. So that is going to be the result of mutual coordination, understanding, having experts on both sides meet and understand really what are the demands, what are the requirements, what are Chinese investors looking for. Coming to the specific meetings this time, actually, we already have a JCC mechanism, which is an example really under the Belt and Road. This is such a huge initiative, but when we look at specifically China and Pakistan's cooperation and the JCC mechanism, how it's always able to reflect on, understand the progress of ongoing projects, and also allow for the room to enhance the scale and scope of CPEC throughout, then that sort of dialogue, mutual understanding, coordination is vital to be able to attract Chinese investments. So I think in this visit, what was very interesting is, and very positive, is that the Prime Minister's team, his staff had put in a lot of effort on really showcasing what are the developments that Pakistan has already made. What are the special economic zones offering? That's number one, actually being able to showcase effectively, market what we already have effectively to potential investors. Part two, what can we do in a better way? So that's where those meetings with potential investors, businessmen, all of these potential stakeholders was very vital to understand what further can be done. So in that sense, in any case, the Belt and Road, I guess the best way to understand the BRI is that it is a holistic cooperation, infrastructure, and most of all, how a plan that's the aim of which is to improve the quality of lives of people. So that's the heart of the Belt and Road Initiative. That is the heart of China's own development. That is the development model that Prime Minister Imran Khan refers to, which has prioritized poverty alleviation, economic development, quality of lives improving throughout the country. And then how can we build that kind of synergy between countries and between regions? So, of course, special economic zones, that opportunity to create employment, to create avenues for ordinary people is really a big dimension and a main focus of the BRI and, of course, CPEC.
Let me come back to you, Zoon. I have also with us Shakil Ramesab, who's an economist. Thank you for being with us. Shakil sir, we've been talking about CPEC, of course, and the fact that what it means for the economy, what it can mean, the potential of it, and the fact that recently the Prime Minister categorically dismissed any conspiracies relating to CPEC, and also talked about how it's imperative, it can be imperative to poverty alleviation in Pakistan. That is what some of the background, and that is what Zoon was talking about. Do you agree? You think that as far as the special economic zones are concerned, what the project itself, the One Belt and Road Initiative, envisages ultimately is for it to translate to the people, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely right, and it's not about only the China, the Pakistan is talking about. So the project is transformative in the nature. If you remember, in the 2018 and 19, there were 3 studies conducted by the World Bank. They categorically mentioned that it will contribute to alleviate the poverty in the millions. And it will also generate a benefit of the welfare effect of 1.6 trillion US dollar. So it has all the ingredients and elements which will contribute towards the development of the world. And CPEC, of course, for the Pakistan, it will be a beneficial project for the Pakistan and the transformative in nature. The problem with the CPEC right now, which we are facing, is implementation. Right. So actually, what we have to do in the second phase, we have signed the framework agreement for the industrial cooperation, and the BOI, Board of Investment, that is also working on the one-stop services concept. That is wonderful concept, one-stop services. But a real problem lies somewhere else. If we look at that, ease of doing business. Number one, if we have to get the electricity connection, it takes almost 113 days. 113 days. If everything goes smooth. And for the construction permit, it takes the 125 days, if everything goes smooth. And if we come towards the tax system, there are the 35 tax different agencies which are dealing with the tax. And on top of that, the provincial tax systems, they are a little bit different from each other, especially in the sales tax and other types of the taxes. If we want to bring industry in the Pakistan, and we want to make the special economic zone successful, we have to work on these indicators.
Right. Okay. Let me come back to you. You're saying basically the ease of doing business is a huge impediment for this project.
Not only ranking, but in the actual practice. For example, in so many countries, it takes 1 day or 2 days or even one week to get electricity connection. So what we are doing is different. In this scenario,
don't you think that we are now, at this time, the government seems to be cracking down on that same issue? They seem to be really working for ease of business. They're,
they are working, but they have to work on a real issue. They are working on a one-stop services. That is a wonderful idea.
Right.
But if the legal system tell when you apply for electricity connection, they will take 28 days to reply you. And then we go for the inspection, they will take another 30 days to reply you. So these are the legal things.
So you're saying that the hurdles, the legal hurdles, the timelines, so to speak, are not favorable to people wanting to do business.
On top of the tax system.
Right.
If you have to deal with 35 different type of agencies, and every province have the different type of the requirements, because when you produce something here in Pakistan, it has to be exported. They have to travel to all the provinces. So what to do with these things? These are the fundamental questions we have to tackle. If we look at a commitment from the China, they have the absolute commitment to work in Pakistan. They want to assist Pakistan to transform its industrial base, to transform its agriculture. For example, on the agriculture side, China for 3-4 years back, they committed to create a fourth mode disease-free zone. And government of Pakistan had to demark the line where we have to do at the area. Still, we are unable to demark that area.
Okay, so right. Let me come back to you. Those are some of the issues. Ji, Brigadier Saab, you agree? You think, of course, what Shakil Saab is saying? He's saying that it's important for us to look at the kind of issues that are being faced in terms of, for implementation. The delays that are inevitable, the timelines, the according to him, legal, the timelines within the framework at this time are perhaps, unrealistic. If we want to have that kind of speedy business, we want to have the kind of speedy FDI we're talking about, those initiatives, but overall, as far as the Prime Minister's visit is concerned, as far as this initiative is concerned, it certainly seems to be at this time at the top of the agenda, and trying to iron out these issues with his, meetings with the investors in China also. And even afterwards, coming back, the way that he spoke about CPEC, the interest that the government is now taking in trying to bring it home, so to speak.
My colleague was absolutely right in his comments that there are bureaucratic hurdles in implementing the vision, which needs to be addressed on a speedy base. Second is that we do talk about one window operation, but actually on the ground, the situation is a bit different.
Okay.
There are, impediments in doing the things, but it needs to be resolved. It's a very simple philosophy in the business that you have the resources, you have the time. If you do not complete your project in time, you are a failure. So, if we want that, we should really ripe the fruit of the CPEC for Pakistan, where we give millions of jobs and other things. we complete its every project
As far as the
time.
joint working group is concerned, this is what I wanted to go to Zoon with also. But the joint working group on industrial cooperation, you think, these are some of the areas which, it is supposed to work on, right? To clear out these hurdles, to clear out these issues, so that the investor finds it easy when they want to come here, when they want to do business here, when they because the aim is to have some of the industries here also, it was extensively talked about.
Absolutely. The aim of all this is to have the employment opportunities for Pakistan youth. As I said earlier, that sitting and talking and making the working group is absolutely fine.
But you say
we have the brains,
speaking,
but
right.
practically speaking, doing on the ground, that needs to be monitored.
Okay.
That needs to be, shown at higher level, that what is the progress we are making, what we are lacking in that progress. Now, those issues need to be addressed. Now, there we are, in my point of view, we are lacking a bit.
Right. Okay.
We are lacking a bit because of our economic conditions also. And the present political situation where the opposition is creating hurdle in every aspect of the present government. So that is the thing. This is a national project. So we must pursue it. We pursued our nuclear program with a national vigor. We completed it.
So you're saying basically, of course, that regardless of political affiliations, this is a project which is for the betterment of the country, for the betterment of the people, and the fact that, of course, it has a huge potential of monumental proportions, and therefore all the parties should come together. And one of the things that I think Shakil Saab also talked about is, as far as the provinces are concerned, and they need to work together in tandem for there to be those kind of tangible results that we want to see.
That's what exactly is, that every one of us have to work hand in glove to each other to make this project complete.
Right. Let me come back to you. Zoon, I hope that you've been following the discussion so far. How do you see it, sitting outside, so to speak, in China? How do you see this overall in terms of the Prime Minister's efforts at this time, the government's efforts to ensure that there is that kind of ease of business, there is that kind of, to iron out these issues? After following his visit also, because, even after his visit, it seems to be on top of the agenda, the fact that it needs to be speeded up, the fact that those hurdles need to be cleared, the fact that now the ease of business has to transcend to a level where, it attracts FDI.
Yeah, thank you, Marukh. And I really agree with what Brigadier Saab was earlier saying. I guess 2 or 3 of the things, in fact, that Pakistan can focus on, and we are really focusing on this, learning also from the Chinese example, and in a better way understanding what are our capabilities and what are our own national priorities. I think that's the most important thing. So one of those is definitely long-term planning. Of course, there is a national consensus on CPEC. All provinces, all parties, everyone agrees that this is a precious opportunity for Pakistan. It is a good opportunity for Pakistan to pursue positive development, sustainable development, and really improve the quality of lives of Pakistani people. That is our #1 national priority, as it should be any other countries. For that, we need long-term planning. And this is something that we can definitely learn a lot from the Chinese example. They are very receptive. They're constantly reflecting on the progress, on the particular KPIs of every domestic government, every provincial level, on the county level. They're constantly gauging what is the success on KPIs and how can those targets be improved given changing realities. But there is a long-term vision and there is a long-term plan. And I'd like to believe, and this seems the case, that definitely CPEC also has that long-term vision. But how to really make sure that we stick to it and we make sure that our energies are used in a positive direction and we are creating synergy as a nation. This is where we can work much more on. The second thing is obviously ownership. I remember a few years ago, I was in Beijing, 2017, 18. There seemed to be some kind of, in some media, and understanding that somehow CPEC, China will make CPEC successful, or it's as if we are importing something from China. That is not true. CPEC, the Belt and Road, it's a partnership. It's an initiative, but it is really a partnership, and it is based on the domestic priorities, development requirements of the host country. So, in that sense, the sense of ownership that we are taking in Pakistan today is definitely much more positive and much more dynamic than it was a few years ago. I think that idea, how exactly can we push ourselves towards better progress and attract industries, attract opportunities, benefit from the current exchanges. For example, during COVID, even the scientific exchanges between institutions. Today, the way think tanks are cooperating with each other, the way experts are cooperating with each other on both sides, is being utilized in a more effective way. When we look at agriculture cooperation as well, I think 6 years ago, the scope and the idea of agriculture cooperation, including the latest technologies and methods from China, and really also benefiting from the fact that we have so many Pakistanis living there, understanding those practices, being part of this community in China, how can we make the best of this young talent? That's something we have made immense progress on. So it's really a combination of business interest and also engaging our people in the right way, giving them the right incentives, making sure that our scientists and young people are also part of this. And I think this is something that generally in China is a main priority, empowering young people and enabling them to make a positive difference and be part of that general development of the country. And that's something that Pakistan is also focusing on.
You mentioned 2018, and I think that one of the joint cooperation committee meetings of CPEC that was held in 2018 signed a MOU that formed the basis for future engagements between the parties, under industrial cooperation, which is now. And because of the efforts of BOI, let me come back to you. I'll go to Brigadier Saab with this. There's a consensus to turn that into an agreement now. Some of those initiatives have been taken since 2018. And if we talk about successive governments change, we're talking about the fact that, of course, all governments should, regardless of whether opposition or the government, should be looking at it in terms of what it means for Pakistan. So don't you feel that there is overall agreement as far as CPEC is concerned with regard to the potential of it, with regard to our relationship with China? And I will later go to Zoon with this also. That Pakistan and China need to have that kind of relationship that translates into economic gain. Of course, China, the level of Chinese economy is at a much, much higher level than Pakistan, but for us to get as much as possible also out of it.
No, that's exactly what your last words were. That's exactly what I mean to say. The country, all the military and political leadership are in consensus that this is a project which is a game changer, I would say, the economic game changer for Pakistan. But it also requires that there is political, economic stability in the country to ensure that foreign direct investment in the projects which are going to be implemented, they do materialize. So that is the angle which I wanted to highlight, that this nation, whichever issue it was in consensus, whether it was a nuclear issue, whether it was making of the KKH. We started KKH with just a pick and shovel, and we made it as a wonder, eighth wonder of the world. And we will, inshallah, complete this CPEC also in time.
Right, let me come back to you.
Now,
I think on that note, I will come back to you. Shakil Saab, overall, do you agree? You think that there is, in terms of our own situation, in terms of the situation in Pakistan at this time, do you think that overall we have that kind of resolve? Do you think that we are, committed to seeing, of course, regardless of political affiliations, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that political leadership, even before the Prime Minister went, he had extensive meetings with the military also, And this is a project very close to the hearts, of not only the civilian government, but the military also. And overall, all political parties. Wouldn't you agree?
I will definitely agree. And they have all the political parties and institutions, they have the resolve and the will to do that. The real problem is lying somewhere else.
Okay.
If you look at the political side, they are having resolve, but they play the political games. Everybody say it's a my brainchild.
Okay.
If you
You're saying everybody wants to take credit for
it.
Okay.
But in that sense, they are creating the negative propaganda.
Okay.
How? When the PMLN was in power, the PTI say so they are not doing good on the CPEC, they are not going good on the CPEC.
Okay.
When the PTI in the government, so PML saying they destroy the CPEC. So when I talk to international people, what is your logic for the speed has gone down on the CPEC or something? Do you have evidence? Yes, your minister was saying this. So they have the resolve, the will, but they are playing the political games. One thing. Second, there is a lack of people in Pakistan who understand Chinese system. The ontology of Chinese, international relation of Chinese, the governance system, development system, and the fundamental thing, if you talk to anybody, they say they are a communist country. They are not communist country, they are the socialist country. And what is have the basic in their law and the system which govern them, which push them to strive for the good. So we lack the people. Simultaneously, there is a people who don't understand Pakistani political economy, but they are advising the Chinese.
Okay.
So the problem is somewhere else where I am saying we need to bring on the people who really understand the dynamics.
Okay.
Then we can talk what is required. Otherwise, if we have talked about CPEC, it's the best opportunity Pakistan have. It is transformative in the nature.
Right. Okay.
It will make us the hub of connectivity.
Let me come back to you. Zoon, do you agree? I think what Shakil Saab has pointed out is interesting. Do you agree? You think that there's a dearth of understanding perhaps on both sides, or do you think that there's a dearth of understanding of the way that Chinese do business? That still needs to be, perhaps we need better understanding there, the way that they do their business, to understand them better. Of course, we have had a long-standing relationship, but do you agree that there are those issues still?
Marukh, when I came here in 2015 to study international relations, it was a big shock for people around me. I think that idea that one could really, at least the circle that I was a part of, it was very odd to go to China and just understand what is this country about, what is their foreign policy, what is their governance system. Just that intrigue was something very odd for people. Today, 6.5 years from now, I think there are a lot more people who not only appreciate these kind of decisions, but are interested in knowing more. So he is absolutely right that we can definitely know much more about each other. I would say that, sure, we have such a best friend relationship. All Chinese people, big cities, small villages, very educated, very uneducated, they all know Pakistan is their iron brother, and they have a love towards Pakistan. But how well do they know Pakistani culture? Would they be able to understand what is the investment or political climate or the economic situation? That can be improved on. And similarly for Pakistan, I think we've always had a warmth towards China, but really we missed that those 20 years, especially after WTO 2001 onwards, the speed with which China moved forward. A lot of people missed that. So my point is 100% we should know more, we can know more. But we have made immense progress on that front. And those who want to benefit, the real point is economic benefit. If a Pakistani businessman, a person who's making films, just go to China, it's financially rewarding. Go forward, think about how you can cooperate. I think that idea of incentive and the payoff of cooperating is something that we really need to nurture more of. A lot of Chinese people are very interested in Pakistan, and the ones that are very seriously interested will go ahead. But we can do as Pakistan, as Pakistanis, I would say, we are doing a better job at promoting our culture, at promoting what we have to offer. And we can constantly do more of that. And I think in that, ordinary people have to play their part as well.
Right, okay. Let me come back to you. Ji Brigadier Saab, how do we improve that? How do you think, when Zoon says that ordinary people must play that part, ordinary people are not exactly privy to the way the Chinese do business or the way that, their philosophies, the way that, a lot of things like Shakid Saab is saying that we don't even know whether it's communist, or a lot of people don't know that.
The framework agreement has been made. It has defined the broad parameters of the industrialization of the CPEC, especially in Pakistan. Now is the job of the bureaucracy and the people, those who work on the ground, to make out of those parameters the standing operating procedures, that how the thing will go, and specify the things, as my colleague was saying, that this is a time that you sit down, all the people, those who deal with tax, deal with electricity, deal with other infrastructure issues, they should sit down and make the standing operating procedures for how we will go about, where are the hurdles and how to address them.
But don't you think it's very easy for us to perhaps sit here and say that, we work on those hurdles, we should try. Of course, there's no doubt about the fact that we should try that, and I think the government is trying that, the Prime Minister is consistently trying that also. But when we talk about, Shakid Saab, when we talk about bringing things together, when we talk about timelines that you mentioned, when we talk about the fact that there are sometimes 30 days delays when getting electricity connections that are not perhaps present at other places in the world, like China, or the timelines that exist in the laws at this time. When we talk about changing those procedures, when we talk about changing those formulas, so to speak, a lot more is involved. And it's not just for the Prime Minister also, it's not that easy for him to wave, it's not a magic wand that can be waved and all of those pathways, all of those hurdles can be cleared. Because a lot of issues are involved, the parliament is involved, judiciary, it means that there are large scale reforms at stake when we talk about those kind of hurdles.
Look, Marukh, everybody have the consensus, it is transformative project. I don't use the word game changer, I use the word transformative.
Right.
Everybody agree on that. Everybody knows we need it. Every political party take the ownership.
Right.
They have to make the law. They are in a parliament. Let's make it there, then you will find out who is against it.
Fair enough.
And who is saying and who is actually against it, one thing. We have the best example of Energy Commission of Pakistan, Atomic Energy Commission of Pakistan. When we had the resolve, we made it.
Right.
Likewise, what I also wrote a few days back in newspaper, under the news, we have to strengthen the CPEC authority.
Okay.
Because look, it's had the logic. Even in the ministry, they have some big project. They create the project management unit. What is the benefit of that project management unit? They directly talk to the decision maker in the ministry. They implement it. Likewise, we must have the CPEC, very powerful CPEC authority, who can make a decision and implement. Rest of the institution, let them work.
But what about conspiracies that the Prime Minister spoke about? There are conspiracies coming from outside Pakistan also.
They will continue.
Right.
They will continue. Look, what is the stated objective of India? To create differences between Pakistan and China and do everything to harm Pakistan.
Right.
What is the stated objective of USA? They want to contain China. They want to cut down their friends. Actually, at this point of the time, and I'm talking, the Zoon is also international relation student, she can understand. US want us to make our relation cut. If we are not able to abandon China, at least they want to neutralize us.
Right, okay.
So in this context, they will do the conspiracy theory. Sometimes they will come with a debt trap. I say it's a debt relief, because one thing, with the major chunk of the thing is on an investment, that is not a debt. If that thing is not debt, how it can be debt trap? We can talk about it in a detail. If somebody want to talk, I wrote a detailed paper on that.
Okay.
They will continue. Our job is to make it happen.
Right, of course.
So if we are not able to make it happen, that means we are part of those conspiracies.
Okay.
One thing and second thing, you have to create the stakes of the people. Because if in a Gwadar, they see Gwadar is a hub of the regional international connectivity. So what we will do? From us, China embassy is better. They have given 7,000 solar panel system to the people in Gwadar, so they can create some job opportunities also for them. Electricity is definitely a byproduct, but also create job opportunities. What we are doing for them? Gwadar port is ready. The Gwadar port area is ready. But what is the state of the Gwadar master plan?
Okay.
Which we have to implement. Look, we can talk for hours. It's a good project, but at the end, the end point would be how we are implementing it. If we are not implementing it in a proper way, that means we are playing in the hands of our enemies, who will try to create the conspiracy theories. They will say, look, there's nothing is happening. Look, benefit is not coming
Let
around.
Zoon answer this one. Zoon, how do you look at this conspiracy? Of course, you know, as far as China and USA is concerned, overall our geostrategic position is concerned in terms of, because you know conspiracy is a word that the Prime Minister used himself also. We talk about you know USA and the way that they look at this project, the way they look at our relationship with China, you know the threat of sabotage that we constantly face also. How do you see that situation overall?
Marukh, I think if I wasn't a resident of China and if I were anywhere else in the world, I would have the same feeling about what the US is doing right now. They think we are pawns, the 75% of the world, but we are really people who have the right to a better life, pragmatic ways forward, and we are not in any waiting room of history. So I think what the United States is doing is actually just trying to create another second Cold War situation. They're trying to marginalized countries that actually are just moving forward. The only thing China and Chinese people want, they don't want to be hegemons. They just want to be better tomorrow than they are today. They just want to improve. They have thousands of years of history. So for Pakistan, I'll be very short. I think for Pakistan, definitely Pakistan, like other things, they're attacking China, they're attacking Chinese projects and initiatives, and that's where CPEC becomes attacked as well. These conspiracy theories have an agenda. We are critical. We are trying to make sure that the projects we are pursuing are done in the best way possible. So positive feedback is very different from propaganda. And what Gwadar is about is economic improvement, regional connectivity, synergy. It's not about some kind of global negative agenda. We just want to improve the quality of lives of our people, and that's about it.
Right, okay. Brigadier Sahib, I think that, you know, Zoon puts it very succinctly. She talks about the fact that there is, it's just about betterment, it's just about economy, and that is essentially what the Prime Minister said also, it doesn't matter. But do you think it's simplistic to look at it that way in the light of world politics, in the light of how the USA may view it, how, you know, they may view our relationship with China, how they may view this as a, you know, the Cold War situation earlier on, or the bloc, so to speak, Pakistan and China, the Chinese bloc, so to speak, overall. How do you see that?
No, I will answer your question in three parts.
Ji.
One is the national, which we have seen. There are problems in Balochistan. Our own people are supported by many you know, foreign countries are creating hurdles. They are creating law and order situation over there, and this is one reason that why the Prime Minister talked about the conspiracy. Second is the regional. You know, if you see the map of CPEC, it's going to connect the Southeast Asia, East Asia, and the Europe, as well as the West Asia, which is Middle East. You know. Then the third important thing is that if this happens, and you connect it now at the global level of China containment policy, you know, it has lot of implications. And then it has an economic implications also. You know, any ship which comes from Mediterranean through the Suez Canal, daily there are about $3 billion to $4 billion trade crosses and monthly it is about, yearly about, it is 12% of the world trade passes through it, which when the ship enters into the Arabian Sea, it goes into the Gulf to get refueling from the UAE. Now, if we develop Gwadar, one is that it will any ship which is going toward the east will think of going 163 nautical miles into the Gulf and coming back 163 and then heading towards the east. The second thing is the Malacca dilemma which is there. Any time choking off the Malacca Strait will disrupt the complete world trade. So then that is why I call it a game changer and not a transformative, because the 12% of the trade especially will go by road. That is why the West and America is against it. Because they control the sea lines of communication, they control the ship industry, they control all the containers which travels. So it is going to be a thing which is produced in China. It will be able to travel much quicker, much safer, with less insurance being paid to the destination, if this CPEC does materialize. Then the Gwadar port, when it actually develops its third phase, we will be one of the few countries in the world which will be able to harbor a 400 tons ship at the berths. And Gwadar is going to be, I predict that it's going to be one of the busiest, one of the most trading port on the ship. And then Gwadar also has the capability of floating liquefied gas harboring. So that way it will be able to, China will be able to, in case of anything goes into the Pacific, China will be able to outmaneuver the 6th and 7th Fleet and the others. And if connected with Japan, Korea, Vietnam, if connects with the CPEC and India, this will become the real game changer then.
Right. Let's hope that it happens. Shakil Sahab, your quick comments. Unfortunately, we're running out of time.
Look, when we talk about these strategic issues, then we fall in the propaganda of the West when they say CPEC is a strategic project. Rather, it's an economic project.
Right.
And why they talk about it as strategic? Because it's always make easier anything controversial which is a strategic. Because they think security of one country is maybe that has implication for other countries. CPEC has a pure economic rationales. Like that, when the CPEC road going through, it will help China to save $72 billion per year for a trade with the 6 countries. It's economic. One thing, second thing, CPEC is surrounded by number of other corridors. For example, there is a China, Central Asia, West Asia corridor that is also part of the CPEC, BRI. Then middle corridor by Turkey. Then the north corridor by Iran. Then the BCM, China, Bangladesh, China, India, Myanmar. So these are all corridors. If we are not acting smartly and we are bent upon to make it a strategic thing, because if we want to say it's a game changer, so what is the game?
But that's not what we're saying.
If we say the game changer, what is the game? The game was a great game, and that was a strategic and political game.
It's an economic game.
They were bringing it. For the economic, it's a transformative.
Zoon, your comments quickly. Unfortunately, we're really running out of time.
But people, generally, I agree with Mr. Rame that the focus is economic. When I've been to Gwadar, the focus is how can we improve the lives of these people in Gwadar and overall in Pakistan. We really have a lot to achieve on that front. And the rest, long term, let's see where the world heads to. But what we need to focus is on the economy, and we cannot afford to politicize our economy. And that's really what CPEC should be focusing on.
Thank you so much for being with us. Shahid Jahangir Saab, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being with us. Shakil Rami Saab, thank you for your input. Zoon Ahmed Khan, thank you so much for being with us today. As far as CPEC is concerned, certainly it has the potential for being a game changer, which is what was talked about. It has the potential for actually changing lives of people in Pakistan in terms of poverty alleviation, which is what the Prime Minister talked about. It has the proportions that it can achieve, of course. There is a monumental proportions of in terms of economic growth, in terms of industrialization, in terms of making the lives of people better in this country, where, of course, like the Prime Minister said, at least 30% of the people live below the poverty line. Let's hope that we can all work together to achieving those initiatives. Regardless of political affiliations, we see the kind of political will across the board. Regardless of whatever political parties there are, whether it's opposition, whether it's government, to achieve all of that, to harness all of that potential that this project can achieve. Thank you so much for being with us today on Perspective.